What is audio mastering? Audio mastering is applying effects to a full song mix on the stereo/main out bus in efforts to replicate the sonic qualities of a well-mastered industry standard commercial song. In mastering, you're adding effects to the entire song as a whole. Effects such as compression, spectral enhancement, EQ, and etc. An example of a mastering process is adding bass to a song you're listening to on your car stereo. When you add bass, the entire song gets it. You can't add bass to only the vocal track. This is comparable to a mastering EQ process because it affects. How does audio mastering compare to mixing? In music mixing, you're mixing together multiple audio tracks to create a song. Different tracks like the lead vocal, bass line, guitars, drums, etc. are being combined together. Then proper effects like EQ, reverb, delay are added to each track, along with panning and volume adjustments. In the final step, the mix is exported to create a song in the form of a single stereo interleaved WAV or I file. In audio mastering, you're working with one stereo interleaved file, and the entire song is affected by effects processes, not individual tracks. What's the main goal in audio mastering? Your main goal in audio mastering is to replicate the sonic qualities of a well-professionally mastered commercial song, in the same genre and style as the song mix you are working on. Yes, everyone has their own slight preference adjustments like a little more bass, brightness, etc., but overall you want to be at least 80% similar to the current industry standard. The only exception is if a client specifically requests an old school master. If that's the case, then you're going to have to replicate the sonic qualities of songs from a past era. Every mastered song is at some point going to be played along with other professionally mastered commercial songs. If the song is very poorly mastered and way off industry standard, it will be painfully obvious to any listener when played right after a professionally mastered commercial song. Why do songs need to be mastered? I've seen this question on the internet many times. The answer I always see is because all songs on the radio have been professionally mastered. Yours should be too. Yes, your songs need to be mastered because you want them to have the same qualities of a well-professionally mastered commercial song, but this can only be achieved by using effects on the stereo/main out bus, which is what mastering is, using effects on the stereo/main out bus. Many critical processes can only be done in mastering. Here are a couple of examples of why a song needs to be mastered. Do you want to be able to play your song loud without it breaking up? Then you need mastering. In mastering, you can compress the entire song as a whole, or in separate bands, so it doesn't peak too hot or distort during loud playback. Compressing a song in mastering also kind of meshes everything together. In mixing, you can only compress individual instruments like the bass, vocals, etc. This does nothing for loud playback, nor does it mesh the song together as a whole. Do you want your songs to be as loud as the songs on the radio? Then you need mastering. In mastering, you can use a loudness maximizer and make your songs as loud as needed without distorting. You can't do this in mixing just by cranking up your levels. You will distort before reaching your desired loudness. Brightness, tone, sparkle, upper mids, and high band. Brightness, tone, and sparkle are some of the most important sonic qualities in the audio mastering process. The vocals, lead guitar, synths, and music melody are often the main focal points of a song, which makes getting these elements correct very critical. We all know what brightness and sparkle is, but the tone of the brightness is something a little different. I guess a similar comparison of tone would be the contrast control on a TV. A good music example is the lead guitar in a rock song. When mastering a rock song, I have to use the right combination of spectral enhancement and standard 5-band EQ in the upper mids, so the guitars have a nice tone to them. An EQ boost between 3K to 6K changes a guitar's tone. Sometimes I might boost only 4K with a narrow Q to achieve the proper tone I'm looking for, or even the entire 4K to 6K range. What hardware do you need for mastering? Here's the basic hardware you need to master music. A computer, preferably a quad-core or faster. An audio interface, which contains a mic preamp and instrument cable inputs, studio monitor speakers and a subwoofer. What software do you need for mastering? If you've mixed songs in the past, you can more than likely use that same software for mastering. As long as you can add effects to the stereo/main out bus, you're good to go. Software plugins and mastering effects hardware. If you know how to master very well, you don't need thousands of dollars in mastering software and hardware to get great results. Should you export your mix to WAV Or mix and master at the same time? Myself, I mix and master at the same time. Effects are applied to all the individual tracks and the stereo/main out at the same time. If you're mastering and mixing a project, you have the option to do it like this too. Now, if a friend or client gives you a stereo wave file of a song, obviously you only have one option because you're only doing the mastering. What should you do? If you're mixing and mastering a project, I highly recommend that you export your mix as a stereo wave file. Then import this file into a mastering project session. But what if the mix is terrible? Shouldn't you fix it? Yes. A lot of fixes can't be done in mastering. For example, if the vocals are way too low in volume and need to be raised, this can't be fixed in audio mastering. If you have access to the raw mix, by all means fix it. And export a new wave file. Also, after mastering, the fact alone that the song is much louder reveals unknown problems in the mix that might need to be corrected.